Well, hello and welcome to Bingewatch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwen, writer on TV and Satellite Week, TV Times and What's on TV magazines. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available on Friday the 18th of October 2024, including Lennie James as a dapper London pensioner leading a double life in the new BBC drama Mr. Loverman, and David Tennant and Alex Hassell waging war in Rivals, Jilly Cooper's racy tale of money, lust and power on Disney+.
And we'll also be checking out the Australian version of British comedy The Office, yes, you heard that right, on Prime Video, and romantic drama So Long, Marianne, about singer-songwriter Leonard Cohen and his muse on ITVX. But first, Ian, what is in the news?
Charlie Brooker's dystopian Netflix anthology series Black Mirror is set to return for a 7th series next year with an all-star cast including Peter Capaldi and Paul Giamatti. What else is in the news, Hannah?
Well, this looks good because in Prime Video comedy Jack in Time for Christmas, which will air this December, Jack Whitehall will embark on an epic mission to get home for the festive season, with the help, of course, from none other than Mr. Christmas himself, Michael Bublé and Rebel Wilson.
Absolutely shameless. We've got a good selection this week, I would say, and we're going to start off on BBC One and BBC iPlayer with a new drama series which starts with a double bill. It's called Mr. Loverman, and here's a clip.
You is a homosexual, Barry. I ain't no homosexual. I am a barrysexual. They think they know me. Father of Donna and Maxine, husband of Carmel. What happened to us, Barry? 50 years, living a double life.
You are a cheat, Barry.
But not in the way that she think.
So this is going to drop as a box set on the iPlayer. On BBC One, you're going to get 2 episodes a week on a Monday night. It's adapted from the novel by Booker Prize-winning author Bernardine Evaristo. And I have to say, it's very, very good. So it stars Lennie James, who's been in things like Line of Duty. And he plays Barrington Jedediah Walker, also known as Barry. And he's a snappily dressed Antiguan-born pensioner who is living in Hackney. And he is married to Carmel, played by Sharon D. Clarke. But his big secret is that he's having an affair, and has been for a very long time, with his best friend Morris, played by Arion Bakari, who was in His Dark Materials. So yeah, that's the setup, and it flashes back in time. It goes all the way back to their sort of Antiguan childhoods, time periods in between, as we follow the sort of progress of the marriage, and Morris was married at one stage as well. And we also find out, in different episodes, we find out the backstory of Carmel, and then Carmel also goes back to Antigua on her own. Then there's also there are 2 daughters. We find out a bit more about them. One of them is a single parent and has a son. So yeah, there's plenty going on. It's very much a domestic drama. There's lots of these great scenes around the kitchen table in the Walker household. And it touches on things like homophobia. I mean, it's really nicely played. It's really well written, well adapted. And you find that kind of your sympathies shift as the series progresses, because, you know, you start off feeling a bit sorry for Barry. His wife seems like a real nag and a real kind of very religious, and her friends are quite homophobic. But then as it continues and you find out more about kind of the promise he made to Morris, which he never fulfilled, and Morris feels trapped. Morris kind of wants to come out. Then you find out more about Carmel and what she's sort of given up to stay in this marriage. It's, I think it's really, really well done. A great adaptation of a fantastic book. So I would thoroughly recommend it. What did you think, Hannah?
Well, I hadn't read the book, but I kind of want to now do it the other way around. But I think you're right. There is some big sort of topics here, aren't there, that are covered, and the kind of the homophobia surrounding his relationship is, I suppose these days, although things are still not where they should be, that there's less of that. Or I feel the sense that there is, and it's much more accepted, rightly so. So it sort of opens your eyes a bit on that front, and how difficult this path was, if you like. And I know what you mean. I quite often find this with series like this, where you start kind of feeling really you don't like someone, or even if you do like them, and it changes through as it goes on, and this does happen, and it's so nuanced, because every time you sort of think, oh, you feel sorry for this person or that person, there's a reason why and isn't that always the case? There's a reason why someone generally behaves like they do, or they're unhappy, or it's not working. I think it's really I was interested immediately. It captures you immediately, and I think it's a very good adaptation. So I haven't read the book in the first instance. So whether if you've read the book, it does fairly represent it. That I wouldn't know, but coming to it sort of completely like I have, I just thoroughly enjoyed what I've seen.
Over on Disney Plus, a very eagerly anticipated series, another adaptation of a famous book. Yes, it's Rivals, and here's a clip.
Tony Barry. If you don't start spending some of that fortune making decent television, you're going to lose your business.
Rupert Campbell Black, champion show jumper put out to pasture. It's an arrogant brat. Having an opponent
makes life much more exciting.
Oh, I do like a little bit of Jilly Cooper and her raciness, and that's exactly what this is. This is her Rivals is one of her best-selling novels, and if you know Jilly Cooper's work, you're going to absolutely love this, because it completely delves into that world that she kind of involves you in, which is backstabbing, bed hopping, good-looking men, good-looking women, and all the bad things happening. But what interests me about this one particularly is that this kind of focuses, say if you read the book, you'll know, between the long simmering feud between these two men. So one is the TV boss, Lord Tony Baddingham, which is played by the brilliant David Tennant. And then you've got a very handsome Tory MP, Rupert Campbell Black, played by Alex Hassell. And no matter how rich you are, it seems, you always want more, or you could always be jealous of somebody else. And that's exactly what happens here. And it's so, you see an insight into their lives completely, in terms of how much money they've got and the power that they will use to execute what they want to do to suit their narrative and exactly what they want. And Tony, he's part of this media empire, and it focuses on ITV, because ITV used to be split into sort of all different fractions, didn't it? And you kind of see behind the doors of that too. The curtain kind of drops on that too, and he's completely motivated by wealth and power, and is so completely jealous of his rival, Rupert, and he has got this media empire. He's got the option and a platform in which to, try and get the revenge on the man that he really dislikes, because essentially he has it all. And, will he do that? Well, of course, if anyone has read the book again, you will know what happens. But I think it's really well done, actually, because there's lights and shades throughout this. So whilst there's some sort of real horrible treachery between people, and particularly the bed hopping front, and the idea that you want to bring people down, at the same time there are sort of some really lovely backdrops throughout this. There's the countryside, and kind of some of these amazing parties that you imagine happen, but do they really happen? I hope they happen. And it kind of, I think when you read a book read any Jilly Coopers, you've got this, your imagination runs wild. And I think that's probably the hurdle they had to get over with this. And they've certainly got, a cast list to do that, haven't they? With, as I say, David Tennant, you've got Alex Hassel, the brilliant Aidan Turner. Don't worry, you'll get to see his chest again. They've done it well, because I think it could not work if you did it properly, because books like this, your imagination runs wild. You've already got a picture in your mind of what this would look like, and suddenly then it's on the big screen. So I thought it was done very well, very enjoyable. What do you think, Ian?
I think I'm going to be out of step with public opinion on this one. I mean, yet another drama series set in the 80s. Good Lord. And yeah, lots of 80s hits, soft rock, 80s fashions and hair. I've not read any Jilly Cooper. My view of this, and I think it's been well received generally, to me, it's really kind of overcooked. It's almost caricaturish. The characters are really two-dimensional. It's kind of cartoonish, really. It's like a throwback to those really kind of glossy, soapy dramas like Dallas and Dynasty. It's almost like a parody of itself. And there's a lot of overacting in it, just because of what the characters are like and what the script is like. So, yeah, I really wasn't a fan at all. And it's almost kind of carry-on-ish. Or those kind of, remember those sort of sex comedies from the 1970s? That's sort of how the nudity and the sex are treated. So I didn't care about the TV franchise plotline at all. So, I mean, I quite enjoyed episode 1. I liked Catherine Parkinson's character. You got Danny Dyer in there with a dreadful moustache. There's quite a few moustaches in this. I thought Aidan Turner was good, actually, as the sort of very abrasive chat show host. And my former upstairs neighbour, Rufus Jones, features in it as a Tory politician. So it's not for me, but I think it's going to be a massive hit. And I know that, a lot of people love Jilly Cooper books. I've never read any, and I'm sure they'll enjoy this. So, yeah, it's not for me, but I'm not saying I don't recommend it, because I think it's, there's plenty to enjoy. We move across to ITVX for yet another new drama series, arriving on Thursday, the 17th of October. It's called So Long, Marianne. And here's a clip.
You've all heard my song, Suzanne. I brought the man who wrote that great song, Leonard Cohen.
I heard of a man who says words so beautifully that if he only speaks their name...
Her name is Marianne, Leonard.
Women give themselves to him.
I am married to somebody else. I have his child, and I have nothing, so I just wonder what you want.
8 episodes to this one, Hannah, and it is all about Canadian singer-songwriter Leonard Cohen, who he wrote Hallelujah, didn't he? Which has been covered many, many times by many famous artists. Bird on a Wire, So Long, Marianne. And it's about his relationship with a Norwegian woman called Marianne, played by Thea Sophie Loch Nice. That's tricky to say, isn't it? And who inspired the track So Long, Marianne. And it stars Alex Wolff, who I know from the horror movie Hereditary. He was superb. That was kind of his breakthrough role. He was superb as the young lad in that. If you've not seen it, it's on Netflix. It's absolutely terrifying. Really well done. And he's great as Cohen. And basically, he wants to be a writer, basically. He really wants to be a novelist, I guess. And he goes to the Greek island of Hydra in 1960, and it's a really kind of bohemian group of expat kind of artists and writers live there. It just makes you think, God, I wish I was there. It looks absolutely great. So yeah, he arrives there, and Marianne is there with her husband, who's a writer called Alex, played by Jonas Strand Gravli, and he's not very nice, and he's not very faithful, and he's not very considerate. And they have a young son, and then kind of, Cohen and Marianne get together. And I don't know if you remember, but Nick Broomfield, when he was very young, he had a liaison with Marianne, I believe, on Hydra. And if you saw his documentary, I arrived on Hydra and I got to know Marianne on the Greek island. Anyway.
You have a new career ahead of you, my friend.
That's my Broomfield impersonation. So, this is really good. I've only seen episode 1, so we haven't got to the point. I mean, Cohen, he didn't become a writer. He became, as we know, a singer-songwriter. And we haven't got to the point where we see him playing and singing his songs. But I gather that Wolf does this superbly. And I think he's really well cast in this. I absolutely loved it, to be honest. And I am a Cohen fan. So great subject for me for this drama. And I've really enjoyed what I've seen so far. What did you think, Hannah?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Alleluia, I know, of course I do. I wouldn't say that I'm a massive kind of Cohen fan, but as with all of these kind of things, you learn things, don't you, about the person, about their life, and kind of what led them to where they are. And I don't know, it's quite it's a bit of an eye opener, isn't it, from what we've seen so far? It's an eye opener, the whole relationship with Marianne, what went on behind that, the kind of the love that was kind of the deep love that they had for one another, and probably the person that really inspired him, and the music that he wrote. So I just thought it was from what I've seen so far, just very interesting, kind of, again, fills in gaps. So the music, you hear it, I think it was most recently sung by someone on the X Factor, even, Hallelujah. So, it's in every generation will know that song, but you just don't really know the real artist behind it. And I think this shows you that.
Well, we're going to finish with some comedy over on Prime Video, arriving on Friday the 18th of October. It's The Office Australia. And here's a clip.
People ask me, how can I become a great boss? And the answer is having a happy staff that love you. Oof.
This is a proper HR nightmare.
As of today, we are all back in the office full time. What?
That's not good news.
Gosh, it feels like so many years, doesn't it, Ian, since The Office kind of landed. It feels really old. And the idea that there's a new comedy kind of almost echoing what we saw so many years ago, it's kind of weird. But actually, this works really quite well, because it's an 8-part series. It's set down under, as we said, and they've kind of modernized it to a degree, because even back in the day when The Office was on, it was still draconian in its approach to staff and wasn't acceptable in modern day practice. But this is kind of modernized itself again, because it opens with the office, the boss, who in this instance is a woman. So that's the first time we've had that. That's really funny, and actually quite a big thing for her to do, I think, actually take on that role, because the spotlight is on. And it starts with her trying to keep the office open in the modern day of everyone wanting to work from home. So they've kind of modernized the way in here, which of course, most offices are doing. Most offices can be quite bare, and companies after COVID trying to get their staff back in. So obviously the office only works and the dynamics only work. And as we know with the boss of the office, their life is that office. So it needs to stay open even if nobody else wants it to. And Felicity Ward plays the part of Hannah, and I think she is very funny. She's got her own take on it. She's completely delusional in the same way that Ricky Gervais was in this part, in terms of the way that she kind of plays the character, and she there's just some. I think there are some. From what I've seen of it so far, I think there are some quite laugh out loud moments. There is some real cringe-worthy, as you'd expect, moments. I like the fact that they kind of cut and interview some of the staff. They've obviously worked closely at watching what it was like originally and stuck to that to a degree, because why wouldn't you? But slightly their own twist, as say, having a woman as the office boss kind of immediately changes that dynamic. And it's, I don't know, she is basically totally incapable in the same way that Ricky Gervais was. So if you like The Office first time round, you'll probably like this. But of course, the American Office wasn't for everybody either. It's cringy. It's something you can do, the washing up, while you're watching it, I'd say. What do you think, Ian?
Well, as well as the American remake starring Steve Carell, which many people would argue, including myself, was better than the British series, and it ran for a very long time. The Office has been remade in Germany, South America, Chile, and Finland. So in a way, it's on a bit of a hiding to nothing, this one, because if you're probably going to have seen the British and the American one, most likely, which were both absolutely superb. And it's bound to be compared with them. So I think that's challenging, of course it is. However, if you hadn't seen those and you watched this, you'd think, this is great. This is really funny, terrific characters, good script. What a great idea. So, as you say, I like the idea that they've cast it with a female boss, Hannah, played by Felicity Ward, and then in the Gareth character, the equivalent of a Gareth character, is also a woman. So it's quite fun saying, oh, so that's who's playing the equivalent of so and so, Tim and Dawn and whoever. And there's a real kind of hangdog HR guy sort of trying to hold it all together. So, and again, it's at a packaging company in Sydney called Flinley Craddock, and its slogan is "Think inside the box." So yeah, I would say Hannah Howard. She's a bit more kind of just scatty and silly, rather than particularly David Brent could be quite nasty and very self-serving, wasn't he? But in a hilarious way. So I'd say it's a little bit softer, but I do think it's good. But unfortunately, it's always going to be to suffer a little bit by comparison with the British original and the American remake. But yeah, I think it's well worth a look. Well, we've got to that time, Hannah, where we find out what the heck you've been binge watching this week.
Well, Ian, I have been binge watching a couple of things, actually. I was working late one evening and I watched League of Their Own, which was just funny. They were on tour and in Mexico, and we have actually reviewed that before, so very good, worth a watch. And also Mallory Towers. Honestly, we all sat down as a family to watch Mallory Towers, and we loved it. And they just keep dropping more and more episodes, which is great. So yeah, we're still working our way through as the girls get older. How about you?
I have been watching the true crime drama Monsters on Netflix, which is about the Menendez brothers. So yeah, I think last week I recommended the documentary on the same subject, but the drama is really good, and it's got a terrifying turn by Javier Bardem, who's been in a Bond film, and of course he was in No Country for Old Men as the boy's father, and it's a shocking story. And I think kind of the whole Menendez case, probably because of this drama and the documentary, is back in the news headlines again, isn't it? Now, we've just got time to look ahead to next week's offerings. So what's on the agenda, Brenda?
Well, Billy Crystal will star in Apple TV's Before, a terrifying psychological thriller about a troubled young boy. All right up my street, Ian.
And Shazad Latif and Georgia Flood will star in Nautilus, which is a lavish retelling of Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea on Prime Video. So we look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, listeners, keep watching.